When you think about ministries at a church, you tend to think about the obvious ones: children, men's and women's, and maybe some counseling. Well, at Grace Community Church, we have a different ministries that you may not know about, and that's our special needs. Today we'll be doing an interview with Corinne Langston, and we'll talk about how we can work and support our special needs ministry. We'll be doing a two-part series of today, and that'll be the first one, some information and the background about special needs ministry, and the second part we'll be working with you, whether you're a staff or a volunteer at the church, on how to work with our special needs kiddos and the advice that we can give. So let's go ahead. Let's get down to their interview. Exactly. So, all right, Corinne. So let's start with this question. And it's kind of a basic question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background regarding to special needs.
Okay. So I'm married to Brad Langston, and we have 3 kids, Madeline, Emma, and Ben. We started coming to Grace about 2010. Mm-hmm. We were at that time looking for a church, and we came to Grace and just loved the fact that the gospel was taught every Sunday, mm-hmm. and that they just talk about serving others, and we just felt that that was a good fit for our family.
Okay.
I came on staff about 4 years ago, so around 2013. I was formerly an elementary teacher.
Okay.
And was looking to just work part-time. And Cindy Solberg had called me and asked if I wanted to be a part of the children's ministry team. And so I started working with the 2-year-old classrooms. And just with my education background, just felt that we needed a little bit more preparedness for those children coming that are touched with disability. And so special needs ministry was started probably about 2 years ago. We started with 2 kiddos, and we've grown to 8 to 10 depending on a Sunday.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about how did that start? Why was it all of a sudden, hey, we need special needs ministry? How did that process start?
Well, I guess as a teacher and looking at the classrooms on Sunday, I just noticed that, if a child came mm-hmm. that had a disability, were we ready? Of course they were ready to do whatever they needed to do for a family, but were we prepared in a way of having a sensory room, or if a child couldn't be in a classroom mm-hmm. the whole time, did we have an area for them to hang out to take a break, or if they needed the whole time being in with a one-on-one, then, we didn't have that at
okay.
that time. And so, we didn't have people ready to be a buddy with a child that maybe needed someone during Sunday school class. And so I felt that was really important, that we get prepared for that and to have that ready for when a family would come.
And speaking of preparation, how did you prepare for that? Because in children's ministry, you can look online, you have some standardized curriculum, you got to understand the pedagogy of teaching the kiddos, as we say. So how did you really prepare the curriculum and even raising up the volunteers to help support in the training of that?
Sure. So a lot of prayer. Obviously God's hand was in it from the very beginning, and He has just guided us. Even the children's ministry team, the gals that work in that really come alongside me and help me in that. Mm-hmm. And there's great resources online that I've read that are helping, like Johnny and Friends. She has a website that just helps those that want to start a special needs ministry in their church.
Okay.
And so I used a lot of their information of just how to get started. And then Dave Kirk has been instrumental in just with the support of just getting that off the ground and knowing that is important. And the families that have disabilities, it was just very important to him, and that we are able to be prepared for those families that come.
So when we look at ministries, the first thing you got to have is a solid support system. And from what I've heard multiple times, even being on staff for 3 years, is if you don't have the backing of your pastors or even the elder board or even your team of the children's ministry, you can't really move forward. And it sounds like no matter what, there has been that solid support.
Absolutely. The pastors and the elders are just very supportive with this ministry, and they want to see it grow, and they want to just make things available to families as the families come and the needs come up, that we can make those things happen.
So let's kind of get more into more of that and being more specific. What is special needs? What is a special needs ministry?
Well, the ministry on Sunday mornings, primarily currently, we help those students that in the regular classrooms that maybe need extra support. They get a one-on-one buddy. We do have a classroom that is a self-contained classroom for those kiddos that haven't transitioned into the typical classroom, and they may need just an area where they are learning at their own pace. And they usually have an adult buddy with them. There's usually 2 adult buddies in, I call it the sensory room.
Okay.
And then we also, the kiddos that aren't ready to go into the typical classroom yet, maybe they're still working on that goal of full inclusion. We try to bring in youth helpers that are about their same age, peers, basically, and they get some training, and they come in and engage with the kiddos that are in there. So it's not just this separate room where they're not engaging with anybody. We try to bring that then into their classroom.
Okay.
Then we also have the adult buddies and sometimes youth buddies that help in the classrooms for those kiddos that just need an extra help guiding them along during the class time.
Now, you said a couple years ago, it started with 2 kiddos, and it's grown to about 8 to 10. How have you been able to handle that growth, and do you see future growth of it in, say, 3 to 5 years?
I do. I think, well, first of all, how we've handled it is a lot of the gals that are on the children's ministry team also help on a Sunday morning. So they kind of are right alongside me as far as if I'm helping a student, then they kind of know what their plan and routine are for other kiddos so they can help when needed. We just all act as a team. Even though special needs ministry is sort of a separate ministry, the team really helps out with the children's ministry. But as far as parents feel needed or moved to tell me that their child needs extra support on a Sunday morning, they usually contact me. We fill out a form about their strengths and difficulties, maybe things that might trigger just feelings of anxiety or just behavioral issues, and we kind of work through that and come up with a plan. And then and then I take that and talk with the classroom teachers, the volunteers, or the buddy, and we just kind of move from there. And we change it. It's a flexible plan when needed. So that's kind of how we handle as kids come in. As far as growth, like 3 to 5 years, I do see that happening. Even within our current church body, we have families that either through adoption or I didn't know you had a special needs ministry, my child needs extra support, are finding the special needs ministry. And so we're growing in that way as well. And so I know within that 3 to 5 years of growth that I know we will have also means that there's going to be a need for like a special needs ministry team. Yeah. And so, because currently it's just kind of me on the ministry, but that's kind of where we're headed is we're going to need a team that, a parent, like a parent advocate, someone who can help a parent that maybe has a child that's, been diagnosed, recent diagnosis, and they need to, how do I work in the school system? How do I get the best help? Currently, we do have someone that helps parents with that, but that would be someone on the team, possibly a nurse for those that have severe allergies on a Sunday morning. Just a team that would work together in making a Sunday morning work really well for a child and an entire family.
What are some of the best way to support the ministry? So let's talk about, maybe you mentioned this word about buddies. Yeah. How does someone become a buddy if they're interested into this ministry?
Yeah, they can contact me, go to the Grace website and just go to the special needs heading, and then I'm there, and they can contact me through there, the email. They can call the church and leave a message. there's a process. You do have to fill out a background check and a small questionnaire, and then meet with me. And then typically I try, as I meet with that potential volunteer, then I try to fit them with the right student where I think might be a good fit.
Is there any requirements, such as an age or fully able-bodied or?
Not really. I mean, as far as the youth are concerned, sometimes to be a one-on-one, it probably needs to be an adult or an older high school student, depending on the child that they're helping. Sometimes it can be a peer helper, youth helper, because maybe the kiddo just needs someone to just recognize them when they walk into the classroom and help them feel welcome. And so sometimes it can be someone the same age as them. Yeah.
Now, tell me about the training. Because obviously when you're working with those with special needs, there's got to be some type of training when it comes to care. So if somebody decides to become a buddy, what does that training look like?
Currently what I do is a shadow buddy volunteer type thing. So I ask the person to shadow someone who's currently working with a student, especially if it's that current student. And then that person kind of goes over their routines and what works well for that child.
Okay.
Or if it's a brand new child has come about that needs a one-on-one, then they would probably job shadow me.
Okay.
And I would show them and just, how to interact with the child, or if there's any issue with, just maybe not wanting to pay attention, or they just struggle following like the directions, or they just need redirection, then they're able to just kind of see how that might work and how that might work for that child. So.
And I think, though, that's a part that people feel comfortable. If there is that training there, that they just feel comfortable and see the opportunity. Yeah. And you also mentioned some other opportunities that you would love to have if you had your dream team. The 1992 basketball dream team with Michael Jordan, Johnson, and Larry Bird. So you talking about you got your buddies. You got even a facilitator, kind of help with conversation with school officials or other needs. A nurse. Are there any other ways, though, that you're kind of looking at if you're kind of doing this big, crazy dream of yours?
Yeah, probably someone who maybe currently works with, even in the school system, works in the special education department, someone who has that expertise. Those that maybe are para-educators that work with kiddos that have special needs, and because their expertise is really important to be able to look at our building or look at the curriculum that we have and how can we accommodate or modify, how can we make our hallways more conducive to just whatever the child might need, and so just having that team that would meet and work together to help the families that are touched with disability, and maybe even those that love outreach that wanted to do like a night in the gym. I'm trying to think of what that's called.
We call it respite nights.
Yeah, like a respite night type of thing where they would maybe help organize that and just have a night where families could bring their kiddos and drop them off, and just have to be able to help a family not only be able to leave their child on a Sunday morning so they can worship and their child can learn the gospel as well, but also just how can we involve the family together in serving, and how can they get involved in a community group? How can we help them belong?
Right now, all I've known is that Grace Community Church has a special needs. I don't know there's actually quite a few churches around the local area or in the corridor area that has a special needs. Do you know if there are, and have they worked with us with Grace before about it?
I've had to contact churches kind of outside of our area that specifically have a special needs ministry, but that is something that, as our website updated, then it was then, obviously there on our website more pronounced than maybe it was in the past. So other churches may have special needs. I think most churches, though, what I have found, at least in the area, they're more than willing to help families that are touched by disability, but they may not have a specific ministry.
Yeah.
But they just, as the need comes up, then work with that family. So the churches that I've contacted have been outside of our community, either like the Des Moines area or like the Johnny and Friends organization, Key Ministry.
During your time of special needs, what have you seen as been the most challenging or some of the most difficulties working with special needs?
For some of them, to be able to come into the auditorium to be with their parents can be a challenge, because it might be harder for them to sit. It might be harder for them to talk quietly. Mm-hmm. And so then there's the challenge of how do we
maybe create that culture or acceptance.
Yeah, create that culture that allows them to be here and still feel welcome and not feel like they're standing out, mm-hmm. and not feeling like they that they're intruding on something that that mm-hmm. other people are wanting to hear the teaching and not be interrupted, that type of feeling.
Yeah.
And because we don't have large numbers currently of that, then we don't have a specific classroom for that. Like, my hope is that as the numbers grow, then we could offer a class that the kids are always welcome to be included. Inclusion is really the best thing for all kiddos. Mm-hmm. But for those that may need a self-contained classroom, for example, or to have even other kiddos with disability together in a self-contained classroom to be mm-hmm. able to teach them, and that would be an ultimate goal and hope down the road. So
on the flip side, we were here to challenge us. What has been some of the blessings or the positive that has come out of special needs?
Probably just the volunteers and just the support that I get from them and wanting to be able to help on a regular basis, and then being willing to engage with the family outside of a Sunday morning mm-hmm. is just a huge blessing. The staff at Grace is a huge blessing. I know.
All right. So now we're going to talk about more for our staff and volunteers. And volunteers, we're of course talking about those in children's ministry or student ministry, our safety and security volunteers, guest services. So let's talk a little bit more about this, because last August, when we did a training for the entire church, or several of the members and staff, along with the safety and security, you provided some really good tips and wisdom. And the men who was part of that really appreciate that. And as we know with volunteers, you get some new people coming in, you get some people leaving, and to retrain them can be very taxing. So this is why we kind of do this video. So let's talk about this way. What are some of the best ways that we can work with special needs when it comes to a staff or volunteer?
Probably just communicating with the child. If you see the child or the family, if you're on a Sunday morning, if they're in the hallway, saying hi. Really, that's with any kid. I mean, mm-hmm. saying hi to them, high five, fist bump, type of thing is always good. If there's a moment where maybe they're having a difficult time in the hallway, just helping those around them just kind of keep moving and just like you would your own child mm-hmm. that is maybe having a difficult time, not just pausing and looking and just kind of act like it's not there and mm-hmm. just keep on moving. If it's safety and security and specific that come across that, they can always ask one of the ministry, if I'm there, how can I help? Mm-hmm. Or just kind of keeping the hallway moving is important. If they come across a child and there's no adult with them, getting down on their level and talking with them eye to eye is usually helpful. If they're running, it's important probably to just keep following them and mm-hmm. just keeping track of where they are.
Let's go back and we'll talk about if you do see a child or individual with special needs, how should we address them? What are some of the best courtesies you want to talk about, including being that inclusive environment?
Mm-hmm. The best is just introduce yourself like you would to anyone. Hi, my name is Corrine. What's your name? If they are nonverbal, then the parent will either have them use their communication device. A lot of times they have iPads that will say, my name is, and then we'll say their name, or the parent will help answer that. The best is just to treat them like you would anybody else. Introduce yourself, talk to them, ask them questions about themselves.
When we talk about individual, let's say somebody who has got even a physical appearance, you don't say the one-legged kid.
Yeah.
You use a different terminology or different process.
So, like, if if safety and security helps with a child that maybe ran, and maybe that child has autism, it's probably the polite way of saying, instead of saying the autistic child, is saying the child with autism. For confidentiality reasons, sometimes you're not even going, if that's something as information, then that isn't something you would say. But just in general, talking about people with disabilities using that first person language. So, the child with that has vision impairment instead of the blind child, that type of thing. That you say the child's name first, and then what maybe their disability is.
And that mostly is because we want to make sure that we recognize ourselves as people.
Right.
We want to do the same thing people. Right. I mean, I'm bald and beautiful that way, but the bald man may not be the best one.
Right.
It may be the guy that has less adequate hair. Those parts.
Right. And I think too, like, let's say out in the parking lot, you meet a family and maybe the child's having difficulty coming in the building. There could be lots of things that happened prior. It could have been the car ride over. It could have just been the whole morning. It could just be this is new and they're having anxiety, just to come into something new. And just being aware and having just that compassion for that family.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think without meaning it, we might say, what's wrong with your child, and not meaning like there is something wrong, but that's just kind of the language we use. And so it's probably best to steer clear of that and try to just say, hey, can I help you in any way? Hi, my name is, do you need any help? And most of the time they probably will say, no, that's okay, thank you, because most of them don't want to bother, inconvenience anyone. So then it might be something where you just kind of stand back and just make sure, a ways back, kind of still doing whatever you're supposed to be doing in the parking lot.
Open
but you're just kind of keeping
you're
just kind of keeping the eye on that situation in case they would need your help for some reason, or the kid would dart out and you need to stop a car or something like that.
One thing is, we, as safety and security team, the most common one is a child that runs out of the classroom. And it's not because they're sneaky. They're just really, really fast.
Yes.
And the volunteer is trying to keep up. So as we know, regarding to our team, all of us has a radio on, including our front office, our church office, including you or people in the children's ministry, to say, hey, we have a runner. What are the best protocols to do, especially for our safety and security team or our volunteers?
Yeah, I think for the volunteer that maybe is following the runner, or if safety and security finds them, hey, I see, it's just keeping that communication. They are over by the office, they are over by the auditorium. I saw them head out towards the annex, just kind of keeping that so people know where they are. And then if the safety and security team can, knowing where they are, then think about where the nearby exits are, like if they're still running in the building, and then just be there by that door. So the door over by the office is a pretty big one, or the front doors, just kind of trying to block that area so that they don't get through. If they do come running up to you, the best thing is not to probably put your hands on them. That would be the best thing, is not to try to grab them. But if you have to, like if they're going to hurt themselves or hurt somebody else, probably just a great big bear hug, just as best you can, not to be grabbing onto their arms, even though sometimes you might have to do that in order to get the bear hug, but the essential is like just giving them that big bear hug. Many times, at least with the current kiddos that we have, they'll just kind of fall to the ground anyway, and then just radioing right as soon as you can, or someone who's nearby with a radio that can say, hey, we have the kiddo here. So, and
probably when they're giving the big bear hug, it's not so much like yelling, calm down, and say, hey, you're okay, buddy, how you doing? Yeah, and kind of different verbals.
The calmer your voice, the quieter, kind of the deeper, just real calm, even though you might be really heightened. Just keeping it really calm and just, hey, yeah, like you said, hey, buddy, you're doing fine. Praying works. Asking if they can pray with them. That's helped several times with me, just to help them, and that just kind of helps calm them down. Well, I think, first of all, I just really appreciate the safety and security team that they do. Several Sundays, not always in a row, but we've had to call on them, and they've helped just keep an eye on the kiddo, or they've helped in just helping us just bring that kiddo back, which is always really important. So, and their willingness to help and just keep our buildings safe. It just is really important in general. Just even when it doesn't even have to be a child with a disability that runs out of a classroom. 2-year-olds can figure out those door handles sometimes, or they slip out, and it just happens. And so they're able to they know what to do, and it just is great to be able to radio across the building and know what's going on. Probably the biggest thing is just the confidentiality is very important. And so even if you do have multiple Sundays in a row, or someone, maybe it's the same child that runs, when you get home, not, talking about that child in a way that you wouldn't want your own child being talked about,
That's good.
Or if the parent wasn't standing there, whatever you say, you would say in front of that child's parent, kind of keeping that in mind, because the kiddos that run, they're running for, one of 3 reasons. Sometimes there's other reasons as well, but one might be they're avoiding what they're being asked to do. Sometimes we have a kiddo who has his mind set on something. There's something that he knows that he wants, that we've had, and he wants to go get it. So his mind is set on that, and it's really hard to tend to have him switch. It's hard for him to switch gears thinking. Sometimes they enjoy the physical running. It's play for them, and the fact that you are chasing them it's a game, and so they enjoy that. They're needing that sense of game, and then the contact of when you get them.
All right, well, Corrine, I just want to say this, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but when it comes to special needs, it's one of those things that is really important for me, because growing up, I actually had a learning disability in both grammar and speech and comprehension. So for me, I was tested lower multiple times. I had to go through remedial classes and special needs, and go through that most of my life. And still, even today, I'm 35, that there's those challenges, even those hidden disabilities. So just want to say thank you for all your ministry and work, and just what you and your team do for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. So that will conclude our interview today with Corrine, and just want to say thank you to Corrine and all her volunteers who continue to serve Sunday morning for our kiddos in special needs ministry. If you want to find out more information on how to get involved, feel free to check us out at www.graceb3.org, and feel free to leave her an email. Also, we'll put her email right here so you can contact her directly. So we just thank you for watching this video, and hope we provide some more information about how you can serve and support a special needs ministry here at Grace Community Church. Till then, we want to say God bless, rock on to the fullest, and we'll check you later.